The 10-year note is down again today. We have a lot of people pricing in a September rate cut. We have some people talking about potentially a 50 or even a 75 basis point cut in September. I'm curious, what does this mean for mortgage rates? What does this mean for conventional or DSCR? Because again, not only do we have the Fed, but we also have perhaps compression between the 10-year note and mortgage rates. Are the banks getting less nervous about rate increases? Are they thinking rate cuts? With all things conventional DSCR, I go to Convoy Home Loans, and today we're speaking with Jonathan. Man, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Tell me what's going on. Geez, I mean, people are talking rate cuts in September like it's a foregone conclusion. I don't see it, but hey, I'm wrong all the time. So I'm curious what's going on with mortgage.
Well, I mean, I think we've been right more than wrong the last, year, 2 years that we've been on the channel.
Sure.
Like you and us, I mean, but in terms of where it seems the market is pricing in a little bit of that cut, but it has already priced in like maybe 25 bits, right? They're not pricing in 50, not pricing in 75. I think they're pricing in at least 25 just to get the ball rolling. But the market, like what people aren't understanding, I think, is they're looking and waiting for September to see, hey, they're going to cut then I can make the move. Versus the smart people right now are like understanding the fact that the market is forward looking. The market's
Yeah.
already priced in at least a cut. And if that's the case, then now's the opportunity, because now's when everyone else is kind of, the common people are thinking, I'm going to wait till September,
Yeah.
versus the people that know how it works are like, okay, now I should move it.
No, that is, I mean, we have so much evidence, what I call receipts on this channel. Even when we were on the other side of this and we were talking rate hikes, the market prices them in early, right? The market is not waiting for July 31st and then we'll adjust mortgage rates. No, folks, they've adjusted mortgage rates weeks, if not months in advance to what is expected. So I agree with you. One of the reasons I think mortgage rates broke below 7, now in the high 6, 8, perhaps even going into the 6, 7s today, is because they're pricing in a cut. Again, I could be wrong, but so could the market. I mean, I remember a time in January, Jonathan, where the market was betting on 6 rate cuts,
Yeah.
which I thought was comical. So again, this could reverse. And the other thing you and I've been talking about is, Zuber, stop the craziness. Stop tracking every tick. We have been in this range for about a year and a half. And until we break out either side, it's just the same story, different day. So we're still in the range.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the range again defined is like four, right? If we're talking about the 10-year treasury, guys, so we're not talking about mortgage rates, but we're talking about 4%, right? On maybe the 10-year treasury, maybe
Yep.
399, maybe 398, where the candlestick touches here and there.
Right.
And then we're probably talking about like 4.4, right? Which is the top end of where we kind of candlestick
Yep.
break up but break
Yep.
down. That's the range we've been living in, which
Yep.
again, if you guys like, if we're thinking about it, it's a 40 basis point, 0.4%, right?
Yep.
Change.
And we're right in the
It's
middle of
not,
it today. Yeah.
yeah, it's not crazy, right? To think that, okay, we can move up 20 and down 20. Actually, in fact, I think that this is actually one of those moments where the last year and a half, we've had a little bit of stabilization, as crazy as it sounds. We've had a little bit of,
Finally had
yeah,
stability.
we can find, I think we can finally look back and say, okay, we've been in a stable market, stable rate environment for the last year and a half, right? Because it's not jumping anymore, it's not shooting down anymore, right? And people are expecting it to. Again, the common people that are not studying the market and understand what it means to actually do the work to make sure you can see what everyone else is doing versus what you should do, right? Like
Right.
Warren Buffett says, if everyone's buying, gotta sell. If everyone's selling, gotta buy, right? And that's kind of like the situation we're in, where everyone is kind of like in a little bit of a herd mentality of, we're gonna
Mhm.
wait till the rates drop. But little do they know, like, that doesn't necessarily affect what is happening today, because today's already priced in what that's
Right.
happening. What'll affect it then at that point, and why people get confused is like, what is Powell going to say at that point when he cuts?
Yeah.
Is he going to say we're going to go down another 50 or another 75 in the next year? Like, what can we look forward to? That's what's affecting the market from that point forward, not
Yep.
necessarily the cut at that point, unless it's like totally unheard of where, you know, we thought they were going to do 75 and they only did 25 and they say we're not going to do it again, which we've seen before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's the cut, right? The action, and then there's Powell in front of a microphone.
mhm.
And there are two different reactions. The cut or the raise, frankly, as we were talking about years ago, is it gets priced in early because I think one thing Powell and the Fed has done better this time is they've telegraphed what's coming. That's why I'm still holding on to the hope that there's no September cut because Powell will be in front of a microphone July 31st next week, and we're going to hear right from the horse's mouth. Is is he going to telegraph a September rate cut or not? We're going to find out in roughly a week, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I think like we're talking about, we like the people that are doing the work, like you always say, you have to look at the bigger picture, not just the individual, like I need a rate here, I need this rate here, I need this cost here. It's not that that's important. You have to look at the bigger picture and where like that'll play in the long term. Because honestly, once, and this is most people, right? Once you get a loan, you get a rate on a piece of paper, you forget about how much stress you
Yeah.
put into the rate. Because at that point forward, all you care about is the monthly payment,
Yep.
right? And that's what I try to tell people when they're like, oh, but I have an eighth better here, or maybe I can buy it down a quarter year. I'm like, at the end of the day, don't look at the rate. You should look at the payment because that's what's going to
Yeah.
determine whether you cash flow, whether you can afford it, you know, what that depends on. Because if you're looking just at the rate and you're putting so much emphasis on the rate, then you know maybe you go to a 15-year because I've heard that like you know people are talking
Oh,
about 15-year investments and I'm like that is probably the worst decision you can make because that like literally it's like a ball and chain literally
yeah.
tied to you. Every time you try to cash flow, you're never going to be able to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're an investor and go that route, you're really sucking wind unless you had a monster down payment,
Yeah.
which not a lot of investors do. The one thing I would love to hear from you, because again, I've been talking to real estate agents. Home buyers have really pulled back. We're talking owner occupants, really pulled back, really just not moving forward this summer. The spring selling season is over. It is slow out there. I'm sure you saw the existing home sales come in at 3.89. We broke below 4 million again. But I'm wondering, what are investors doing? So when you look at your book of business, you get all of this activity. Has anything stood out? Homeowner, investor, is the split changing? What's going on?
I mean, definitely, I think the investor is buying more now
Hmm.
again than the homeowner. I think just because affordability hasn't gone up really.
No. Yeah.
So because of that, I think in January there was like a rush, right? And then
Mhm.
now there is still a rush in certain markets, right? And I'm very careful to say that because some people get offended. But
Mhm.
in certain markets, right, there is a higher demand which creates like a higher price point and people bidding the price higher than for you know somewhere like that's less desirable to live in, right? That's the homeowner's mindset, right? If you're gonna live in the house, you have to like to live, you have to like living there, you have to love living there, right?
Right.
You can't live somewhere as a primary that you don't like. And if affordability doesn't go up, then the chances of you finding a house that's within your price point, within that rate range, everything that fits your budget is a lot less, right? And over the last, what I've seen actually over the last year and a half is a trend of obviously, you know, credit card bills and credit cards are at
Mhm.
an all-time high, right? And people's debts, personal debts are at an all-time high. So that's playing a factor into affordability as well because people took out loans while they were going through COVID, yada, yada. And now they're in a situation where they have a lot of personal debt and their debt to income ratio doesn't work like it used to, right? So if
Sure.
you can try to bid it up a little bit, but you're going to be capped off. So what I'm seeing a lot now is investors coming in saying, "Hey, the house is a dump. Let me fix it up and then either flip it to sell it or just hold on to it to invest in." Right?
Yeah.
That's more what I've seen when I'm seeing more value add and investors coming in with better prices. And I think I saw a reel from you that was on Instagram that was like it's buyer's market, right?
Yeah.
It's It truly is, because I am seeing good deals for, especially for investors, go in. And
Yeah.
these are the homes that primary owners should have bought, but they can't buy. So those are
Yep.
the things that investors are getting on a little bit of a discount to improve and then bump up.
Absolutely what I'm seeing. This is the buyer's market I've been waiting for, is the perfect, the clean, the FHA, VA properties priced below the median. Those are still selling. But the property that's outdated, junk, not clean, nobody's bidding on. And it's time to go ham, right? If you're a real estate investor, you have the experience. Again, if you're a buy and hold like me, it's got to cash flow day one. You got to get a great yield. You got, frankly, disrespectful offers. It's really funny. I talked to Beth Traverso, who you know, top 1% agent in the country. And she and I talked about disrespectful offers about a month ago. And she's like, hey, I'm not seeing them yet. She texted me like last Tuesday and said, I got 3 in one day, right? The buyer's
Wow.
market is here. And, you know, not all, most disrespectful offers don't go anywhere. But I got news for you, folks. You only need one yes answer. It's a process. And, it's a buyer's market. So I've been waiting for this for quite a while. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to segue into the programs that people are qualifying for now, like DSCR rates, like if you couldn't qualify for conventional before, it's like, don't you worry, right?
Hmm.
Don't worry. DSCR rates are good, right? Like even in this range, you can still buy it down to 6.1, 6.0 with like three and a
Wow.
half points, right? Still exists, right? Par, which is without buying it down or anything, is still high 6, low 7. You can get it 6.9, 7.1, 7, 7.2. You could still do that and buy, while conventional is still kind of, it takes more to qualify, right? So now it's more like, let's do the work in terms of, okay, what does it mean to buy this property at this price point, right? Will it cash flow for me? And if you go DSCR, you're going to have to cash flow, right?
Oh,
It
yeah.
forces you to cash flow. And it tells you if you're buying an alligator that doesn't cash flow, because the lender will not approve you. So
Absolutely.
it's
Yep.
almost like a safety hold for you, of like
Exactly.
making sure you're getting good deals. Now the rates are lower, which is what everyone wanted, right? Because
Yep.
people are always afraid to take the action, right? They talk about it a lot, and then they don't want to take the action when the time is here, right? Oh, it's too dangerous right now. Rates are going to fall. I'm going to wait till rates are lower. It's like, no, rates are lower. You were talking about the same thing when it was eight,
Yeah.
8.5. Now it's, high sixes, low
This
sixes,
is
sevens.
this is
Do it.
why I this is why I love what I do. I am such the contrarian investor. You're absolutely right. Everybody was talking a big game a year ago when everybody was in. Now that it's a buyer's market, all these pretenders, these hacks, they're going to sit down and be scared and not do anything. And if people who do the work, it's a daily discipline. It's just repetitive. We're going to write disrespectful offers. We're going to get sellers to pay the buy down. We're going to get inspections. We're going to get credits. We're going to get everything we want and more. And a DSCR loan will make it cash flow. It's this is the next 6 months. I think one rental at a time, students, followers, whatever. We're going to do more deals in the next 6 months than we did in the last year. I think we're going to get more seller financing deals in the next 6 months than we have in the last 4 years combined. Because again, a buyer's market means price and terms. You can work on both. And I'm just super excited.
Yeah, and keep in mind right now, again, is there's only a few times where the market, comes to a point where it's like you have to jump in now, or else it's going to be harder to jump in later, right? Like we've had that moment for, let's say, the last 2 years, right? After
Mhm.
COVID rates kind of jumped up, that this whole time has been that time, right? People have been
Yep.
scared to jump in, whatever. But that time is kind of the time that I think is the window of opportunity, including today and through the end of the year, because again, there's a reminder, once rates drop, right, even if inventory is up, prices will go up because people will have more options, and there's more people that can afford the house now that you wanted.
Yeah. Marginal demand is waiting. I mean, one of the things that's very obvious because I look at the data every day, every week, is demand is waiting on the sidelines. And again, that's why today's a buyer's market because they're like on the other side of the fence. Is it election? Is it pissed off? Is it inflation? It's all of this. but eventually that will break and they will flood the market. Now, again, my hope is it doesn't break till January, February, or March. Let's get to next year's spring selling season. Give me 6 months
Yeah.
of cherry picking deals. I'm cool. Let me go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like we're also investors as well, right? So like I am doing the same work that everyone else is doing, right? That the listeners are doing. I don't tell clients to do things that I wouldn't do personally because I buy the same way. I
Yeah.
use bank statement programs, I use DSCR. I'm like trying to look for the next deal to kind of build and develop the same. I'm doing the same work as everyone else, right? So this is an important time where even I obviously seeing the rest of the market, but everyone that is in the market is actually doing the work, understands like this the moment, right? Don't let this slip away.
Yeah. I've been
Yeah.
doing this 20 some odd years. I've only seen 3 or 4 buyers markets, and we are in one. And those are the time to get disrespectful offers accepted, to get the seller paying this and that, to get seller financing. Even if it's not a seller financing first, you can get a seller financer to take a second and, really increase the yield because again, you're deploying less capital. So creativity wins, doing the work wins, but working with a great partner like Convoy Home Loans is the true way to win. If somebody wanted to reach out and see what's what conventional DSCR, what program meets their needs, where do we send them?
Go to convoyhomeloans.com and let us know you came from where at.
You got to tell them you came from ORAT because if you don't, you're going to be stuck in a queue and you don't want to be in a queue. You want to talk to this young man or his partner, Dustin. They will take care of you. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.